Our changemaker is Sonia Sotomayor, and she is widely recognized as the first Latina Supreme Court Justice. But for us, she is also a symbol of hope and resilience, not only for women, but also for Hispanics in general, immigrant families, and other unrepresented groups in the US. Let's start with a little bit of her story and background. Sonia Sotomayor grew up in the Bronx Project neighborhood with her parents and brother. Both her parents are immigrants from Puerto Rico that moved to the US in the 1940s. The 1940s, as we know, was a very hostile environment for Latinos here in the US. This image is a mass deportation of legal and illegal immigrants, mostly Mexican, that occurred in the 1940s. This was a time where Latinos were harshly discriminated against, despite their immigration status. This was the reason why her mother had to make an immense effort to sustain her family. Her mother worked as a nurse, so Sonia was often left alone with either her dad or her grandmother, with whom she had a very close relationship. She was a great student. She attended Cardinal Spellman High School and graduated with amazing grades. After high school, she entered the Affirmative Action Program, which allowed her to attend Princeton and Yale, both very prestigious universities here in the US. After graduating from Yale, she briefly worked as an assistant district attorney before moving into private practice. She was then nominated to the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, where she worked for 6 years. In 2009, former President Obama appointed her as Supreme Court judge, becoming the first Latina and third woman of the Supreme Court, making her community very proud, as well as all the Hispanic women in the United States.
An explanation of the political climate for women/LGBTQ+ community as is relevant to Sonia Sotomayor during the era when she was living includes the following. Sonia Sotomayor was born in 1954 and her career as a judge began in the late 1980s. So from 1954 running all the way down to 2024, we see a completely different shift in political climate for women. So we can start off with the 1950s through the 1960s, where we see post-war era, we see post-World War II, where traditional gender roles are very, very dominant. Then we move over to the 1960s to the 1970s, where we see a lot of the women's liberation movement. This is relevant to who Sonia Sotomayor is and what she stands for, because this is revolving around Supreme Court cases and just court cases in general that give a lot of liberation to women, including the birth control pill taking place in 1960, workplace protection, and the right to an abortion, which was the case of Roe v. Wade in 1973. So we see then we move over to the 1980s through the 1990s. We see where Sonia Sotomayor began her legal career in the 1980s. We also see the first female justice being appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which also includes Sandra Day O'Connor in 1981. So we are starting to see more of women taking roles of very white male-dominated spaces. We are seeing women starting to come in and starting to face all these barriers that they weren't even expecting. We thought women would come into these spaces and they would be treated equally, but no, we didn't see these barriers of equal pay and leadership position and cultural expectations, but that is a complete other GIF. Then we move over to when Sonia Sotomayor was nominated to the Supreme Court in 2009. Gender equality became a little bit more integrated into this political discourse, and we brought a lot of attention into the gender violence.
Although the waves of feminism are not well established by years, we can place Sotomayor somewhere between the third and the fourth wave, since her career was mostly established between the years of 1970s and 1990s. The fourth wave, like the third, embraces intersectionality as a pillar of driving change. Along with addressing systemic inequalities such as racism, classism, and LGBTQ+ discrimination, the fourth wave advocated for marginalized communities that were unrecognized in previous waves, and we can see these values in Sotomayor's path. When she was a student at Princeton, she fought against biased practices that excluded Latino students, especially women, and advocating for hiring Latinx staff. Sotomayor is the first Latina Supreme Court Justice judge in a country that rejects and marginalizes non-white communities. A Latina with immigrant parents made her way into a male-dominated profession. We can connect Sonia's identity and accomplishments with fourth wave feminism because she broke barriers in an adverse environment and inspired immigrant women as well as Latinas in general to fight for their dreams.
Sotomayor has been a hardworking and successful woman ever since she was young. When she attended Princeton, she was able to advocate for Latinx, making the campus more diverse with her involvement in the Acción Puertorriqueña organization. After graduating from Yale, Sotomayor worked alongside Robert Morgenthau, where she was able to prepare a formal brief on a short notice for the Tarzan murder, eventually leading to the prosecution of Richard Maddox. As Assistant District Attorney, she also helped bust two of the earliest child pornography cases in New York after New York prohibited the sale of sexually explicit content involving children. When she was nominated to the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, she became famous for saving Major League Baseball in the Silverman v. Major League Baseball Player Relations Committee Inc. case. In 2009, former President Obama appointed Sonia Sotomayor as a Supreme Court Justice, leading her to become the first Latina and third woman to ever be in the Supreme Court. As a justice, she voted in the majority to uphold the Affordable Care Act, which aimed to make health insurance affordable for more people, specifically between the 100 to 400% of federal poverty level. Sotomayor was also involved in legalizing same-sex marriage in the Obergefell v. Hodges case, allowing same-sex couples to be legally married in all 50 states. Not only did she contribute to the legalization of same-sex marriage and upholding the ACA, but she also prohibited state universities from considering race in university admissions in the Chouette v. Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action case. Sotomayor has made great contributions to minorities and will continue to advocate for human rights. Although Sonia Sotomayor has made quite a reputation and is well respected, she faced many challenges to get to where she is. She used to live in the Bronx Project neighborhood for poor working families. Her childhood was filled with hardships and growing up around violence and drugs. Her mother was absent due to work and her father was an alcoholic. She was then diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 7, having to administer insulin shots for the rest of her life to remain healthy. Sotomayor's father passed away when she was 9, leaving the financial burden on her mother. She was adamant about achieving as much as possible in a short time due to her belief that her lifespan would be shortened because of diabetes. During her time at Princeton, she received plenty of discrimination from her peers and faculty because of her gender, race, and because she was in the Affirmative Action program. In her interview with Terry Baines from Reuters, Sonia Sotomayor mentions questioning her right to attend Princeton due to the hostility she faced during her time there. When Sotomayor was up for nomination for the Supreme Court position, she was under attack from citizens and high-ranking officials alike, deeming her an unintelligent bully, which made her almost withdraw from the nomination. Even today, she is being pressured by Americans to step down as justice to allow President Biden to appoint new, young judges before the end of his term. In her interview with Baines, she comments that many people believe she was able to obtain her position as justice because of the Affirmative Action program, diminishing her accomplishments and hard work. Regardless of what Sonia Sotomayor faced through her life, she continues to not back down from naysayers and has no plan on stepping down from her position anytime soon.
A very relevant speech in Sotomayor's career was his 2001 speech titled A Latino Judge's Voice, which highlighted how personal experiences like being Latina shaped her identity and perspective as well as her decision-making. She said, "Our gender and national origins may and will make a difference in our judging," arguing that diversity enriches the judiciary and fosters fairness. This speech had a profound impact by sparking conversations about diversity and showing how empathy and lived experiences can coexist with impartiality. It empowered Latinas and other marginalized groups, inspiring them to pursue leadership roles while staying true to their identities. Sotomayor's voice remains a powerful reminder of how representation transforms justice for everyone.
Sonia Sotomayor has created a lasting impact on minority groups and others alike. She has become the representation many Latinas need to enter the legal field. There had not been much representation of Latinas in high legal positions. So being able to see someone who is from a similar background change the way that Latin Americans think. Sotomayor, having been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, has changed the way people believe in health issues such as diabetes. Many people, including Sotomayor, believed that having type 1 diabetes would shorten your lifespan, but she is living proof that health issues do not stop someone from achieving their dreams. She has paved the way for many others to pursue their dreams and not let adversity get in their way. She has always advocated for minorities to have the same right as others, even when she was young. Her prohibiting state universities from considering race in university admissions allowed many people of color to obtain an education just like she did. As a federal justice, she has impacted the lives of many. With her majority vote in favor of legalizing same-sex marriage, she has opened the doors for many same-sex couples. The LGBT community is now able to marry the people they love, regardless of gender and sexual orientation.
Me personally, I am a criminal justice major, so I do have aspirations in anything regarding the law. I am studying the law, I am studying to learn the law, and looking up to someone like Sonia Sotomayor, it gives me a very large amount of hope, because not only is she a woman, she is a Hispanic Latina woman in the United States, making a very big name for herself, being appointed in the US Supreme Court, because we see these spaces as being very male, not only male dominated spaces, but white male dominated spaces, where we also see white men versus women of any race going head to head for these very powerful positions. And seeing someone like Sotomayor in office gives me a great chance, and it gives me a lot of hope and expectation that I may be able to be there someday, because I would love to go to law school if that's possible for me. I would love to think that if I get into the law field, I would be able to be just as successful as she was, because she was able to not only get her degree and be able to do what she wanted to do with her law degree, but she went above and beyond the ranks. She is in one of the highest chairs that we can see here in the United States, and that is somewhere I would like to be someday. And that is why her existence has impacted me so much, because personally I look up to women like her, and just knowing that if they can make a difference, so can I.